This is Marketing Over Coffee with Christopher Penn and John Wall.
Good morning. Welcome to Marketing Over Coffee. Welcome to Marketing Over Coffee. I'm John Wall.
I'm Christopher Penn.
Yeah. So today we've got a bunch of stuff going on. The big one, of course, is pumpkin spice is back. We have you've crunched the data again, and it's just amazing. Nothing can stop pumpkin spice from what it appears.
No, and the funny thing about that is that when you look at the last 5 years worth of search data, a bunch of different industries, a bunch of different trends all took a beating, in 2020 and 2021 because of the ongoing, we're now at 3 pandemics instead of 3 for the price of 1. Pumpkin spice wasn't one of them. It's one of those timeless trends like holiday gift guide, no matter what's going on, it's just one of those things that people keep tuning in for. And in fact, this year, the terms of search volume and search interest, it is bigger than ever. So that's where we are. So if you don't like pumpkin spice, between now and November is when it's time to just hide.
Yeah, so I've got a link in the show notes. People can look at the data, and it just continues to ramp up every year. And then you had some interesting stuff. You're going down the path of Squishmallows, the Cabbage Patch of the week, basically. And tell us more about that.
Well, so one of the things that we were doing was we look at year-over-year change to see what trends are popping up that are new within a set of data. And of course, pumpkin spice was the keyword. And this thing came up, pumpkin spice squishmallow. I'm like, what the heck is this? I've never heard of this thing. I've never heard of squishmallows in general. So I start digging into it and realize it's a thing among a certain set of the population. It's like the current generation's version of Beanie Babies. For those of us who had a lot more gray hair and remember the 90s, Beanie Babies were the thing back then. Squishmallows, which are basically stuffed animals filled with a certain type of memory foam, are the thing that people are really, really interested in right now. And what was really odd to me was that the search volume for Squishmallows in social media and public social media was pretty nominal, right? There wasn't a whole lot there for the pumpkin spice Squishmallow. And then when I went into Discord, I found a Squishmallow community with like 5,000 people. And it's like standing on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. People are buying and selling. I got this one. I got this one. There were people who were talking with people who worked at Target and stuff, saying like, when does your next truck come in? And when do the trucks come in and stuff like that? And I was like, wow, this is where the conversation's happening, all behind closed doors. And yeah, people are buying and selling and trading these things, $25, $50, $100. It was really something. So the takeaway from this whole exercise, at least for me, was there is so much conversation happening out of the visibility of marketing tools that it's actually a point of mild concern. I think if you're dealing with anything B2C, for sure, even B2B, we have conversations all the time in like the Analytics for Marketers Slack, and people are asking for recommendations and stuff. These are not conversations that any social listening tool is going to pick up at all. And yet there are decisions being made and people being influenced. Like Analytics for Marketers is like 2,500 users now. And when somebody says, hey, can you recommend a piece of software that does X? If you're not there and you're one of the brands that makes that software, you don't have the ability to even understand that conversation, much less influence it.
Yeah, right. You're just not involved with it at all. And it's been really interesting too. I'll have a link in the show notes as usual. You can get into Analytics for Marketers if you want to join that Slack group, because there's no charge for that. You can join the discussion, figure out what's going on. But a lot of discussion about Slack versus Discord too. Some of the users, freely admitting that they haven't played around with Discord and aren't, in there yet. And I think if there's one thing you take away from us today is if you have not yet been in Discord, go download Discord or just sign up via the webinar face, but get an account, get in there, start playing around, find communities that are, I'm sure there's a community about whatever you're interested in. It's like Reddit. There's a billion communities out there. Find one, get in there, start playing with it, because it's definitely on the way up. And you had some interesting points about the demographics of it.
Yeah, well, Discord, I mean, it started as a gaming. It's not a gaming app; it's a gaming community management system. So people with their favorite games would create Discord servers for talking about the games with their friends. World of Warcraft guilds would have their own Discord servers and stuff. It's very easy and it's free to get started with these things. And over the years since 2014, it has morphed into publicly available private social media communities. You need an invite or a link to join some of these communities, but some of these communities are gigantic. Some of the top Discord servers are sporting hundreds of thousands of users on at the same time, just in their own little server. And again, the conversation, it looks like a stock ticker or something right out of the Matrix in terms of just how fast a conversation's happening. But when you look at who uses Discord, the 35 and under crowd is familiar with it and using it. The 25 and under crowd prefers it. So if you're thinking about should we use Slack or Discord to create a public community that the general public can interact with? If you're targeting under 25, Discord is the hands down the choice. And as this generation of folks matures and moves up in the workforce, and today's 13 to 18-year-olds move into the workforce in a few years, I would say within 5 years, if you're going to create a private community of some kind, you will have to use Discord or whatever's popular in 5 years. Who knows? But right now, it looks like Discord is the thing that will carry on, particularly since their revenue model is a very stable model. It's subscription based. They don't make any money on ads, so they're unlikely to do the crazy stuff that Facebook has.
Yeah, right. To jump on board, I had to take a look too. I was looking, so the Fortnite channel that I'm on there, 796,000 members. It's a gigantic crowd. And yeah, it is interesting. A lot of the chatter is talking about network effect, but you've basically laid it out there. It's like, yeah, Slack has momentum now and it has Salesforce tie-in, but as more people come into the workforce, and I think you totally nailed it too with the multimedia features over there, the ability to stream and do some stuff that it'll be interesting to see actually how fast Slack can respond to that stuff, if they can match and get some parity to regain some ground and get where they're going. I definitely want to kick this around some more, but we do have to take a second. We want to thank LinkedIn Marketing Solutions for their support of Marketing Over Coffee. LinkedIn believes B2B marketing can be B2 brilliant, B2 bold, and B2 breakthrough. How? With a platform purpose-built to make B2B mean more for your business. A platform with tools to help you build better relationships with your key customers, to boost your buyer journey while building your brand. A platform with the trusted data and lead generation you need to beat KPIs, drive ROI, and stand out amongst the competition. And with the targeting tools on LinkedIn, you can reach your precise audience right down to their job title, company name, location, and more to make sure your ads are always being seen by those who matter. So get ready to B2 boldly go where no marketers have gone before, because LinkedIn is where B2B is everything it can be. Every week I say it, but it's still true. We are huge LinkedIn fans. We've got Katie's just got an interview up there right now talking about change management and stuff going on with CDPs. So you want to check that out over there. And of course, we'll be streaming Thursday. The So What video cast is running. I don't what's on tap for this week for video. Actually, I'm buying the time on that.
Oh, we are going to be answering people's questions about what problems AI can and cannot solve.
Oh, that'll be cool. All right. We've got some stuff we can kick around on that. Again, we're all in on LinkedIn. You can rethink your B2B marketing LinkedIn ads and get $100 off on your next campaign. Now, let me do that right. Rethink your B2B marketing LinkedIn ads and get $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MOC to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MOC. Terms and conditions apply. And yeah, we thank them for their support of the show. They help bring this content to you every week, and we thank them for that. All right. So, interesting talking about, AI kind of getting things done and causing more harm than problems. A lot of talk from Google. In fact, a statement out from Danny Sullivan talking about content by people for people. This idea that they're probably going to do more to exclude AI generated content from search results and kind of citing quality as a problem. And they've said that they don't really care if it's automated or human generated, but they do have an axe to grind with this automated stuff that's not as good as it should be, and creates a problem. So, Ed, what should people be thinking about as far as, should they be not doing as much automated content, or do they not have to worry about that if the quality's there?
It's instructive to read the changes they published about guidelines for search. Essentially, they're saying if your content, automated or not, isn't helpful, if it doesn't add any value, like if it's a roundup that offers no additional value, if it's copy pastes and stuff like that, it's going to get penalized. And so for a lot of us, at least on the AI side of things, yeah, a lot of AI generated content, particularly if you don't know what you're doing with the various models, is not going to be as good as what a top skilled human can generate. Now, if your content marketing is being generated by the drunk intern, AI is going to do a much better job of creating, mediocre content than the drunk intern. But I would hope at this point people have learned their lesson that the drunk intern is not a reasonable choice for your content marketing program. That said, when you play with some of the most advanced language models, like the Da Vinci model from OpenAI and stuff, the content it creates is pretty good, right? It's now, I would put it, it used to be bad, right? It just used to be flat out bad. It was word salad. And then with GPT-2 and stuff, it got to mediocre and still needed some polishing. Today with the GPT-3 models, like the Da Vinci models and things, it's good, right? It's not great. It's not amazing. It's not Pulitzer Prize winning, but it's no longer mediocre. It's now coherent enough to be good. And so what's happening is that the bar of quality that AI can generate keeps going up. And I think despite what Google is saying, I'll probably get in trouble here with someone somewhere. Despite what Google is saying, I don't think their technology is going to be able to keep up with how fast the generators are getting better and better. I think this is probably a warning shot to try and dissuade people from looking down this route. But the reality is the better text generation models are honestly better than a lot of the marketing copy that I've seen written, right? When you look at like your average press release or whatever, it's just dreck, right? When you look at your average blog post or your average LinkedIn post, it's just mediocre at best. And the irony will be that the AI generated content may be better than what the average marketer's content is. And at which point Google has to say, well, on the one hand, we value helpful content, but on the other hand, what marketers are publishing is not helpful. So it may turn out like, okay, yeah, we're going to give weight to the better content regardless of who created it.
Yeah, right. There's stuff that's just going to be dumped because it's manual junk, which is no surprise. It was interesting too. They obviously are watching closely the review space. Using AI to generate automated reviews for products just seems ripe for abuse. And unfortunately, those reviews are very short, and it's very very simple topics. I mean, you're basically just saying, I like this, and then there's variations on that. And yeah, AI is primed to be able to do that. And I would have to agree with you. The ability to catch that. I think it's more they're hoping that they'll be able to catch, the fact that, okay, this account has posted 2,000 reviews in an hour. That's obviously a problem. But if it's on the content alone, they're not going to be able to find it. It's just
exactly. And the other thing that they have to deal with is the fact that a lot of content is going to be generated that is in fact used and unique. So here's an example. This is from the most recent Hugging Face model. They just released their Stable Diffusion model, which is an image generator. It's like OpenAI's DALL-E 2. The difference is that Hugging Face, they release their models publicly, right? So that anyone can take them and run with them, whereas OpenAI gates all their stuff and says, you've got to be able to, you got to pony up essentially. And it's the quality of the Stable Diffusion model is pretty good. So I typed in 2 radio broadcasters talking on their microphones. There are some obvious artifacts in these images that are a little bit weird, right? But if you just use this as like a blog post headliner, if we put this in the Marketing Over Coffee show notes as just like the preview image, there's nothing here that would raise immediate alarm. That would be like, oh my gosh, we can't possibly put this up on our blog. any one of these images would be okay enough, right? For a low value piece of visual content. And so as these models keep getting released and made public and stuff, this is going to be something that Google and companies need to be seriously looking at and saying, like, do we, for our blog post headlines, is this good enough for a blog post? The answer is yes, for sure. It is more than good enough for a blog post.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's, instead of crummy clip art or weird generic images, you get something that's, good enough, because there is definitely a market for that, of people need to just have some kind of image and they don't really care. It's interesting to see if more orgs now will go to that point of, okay, it should be our crew, it should be our people, the images should be us uniquely. And we of course know that companies don't do that. That's way too much work. And they're too afraid of the employees not being there 3 months later. So that they completely kill that. I've got a link that's great for anybody doing any kind of AR or extended reality. Martech has a bunch of, basically it's their top 10 immersive campaigns to learn from. They've got stuff from Gatorade, the Oscars, New York Times, which has done a bunch of interesting stuff as far as presenting articles using, more advanced graphic tools and kind of dragging into the content deeper. So check out the link on that. You can dig in there and take some of those things for a ride yourself. It's just great to see kind of some of this content that you can have a little more fun with, get a little bit more multimedia with, instead of just cranking stuff out. A bunch of Twitter stuff. They actually updated their Pixel, the conversion API, and then app purchase optimization. Interesting, only for Android apps, not for iOS apps, which is, that's normally we're always talking about the reverse, but I can see how the Apple Store not wanting to play along with people getting in over there. And yeah, I don't know. It's great that they've got some upgrades there, but we're still kind of just sitting back waiting for this October case to come up and see what the heck is going to happen with Twitter. But that's great to check out. As far as also over-the-top ads and connected video, Netflix and Disney both looking at streaming ads. This is a really interesting thing. I mean, they're kind of citing the fact that with inflation, and like I did see Netflix just kicked me with a $3 rate increase if I want to stay on board. But do you think people really are willing to take ads? I mean, I've seen surveys of people, and we know for a fact that people will say they're willing to put up with stuff in surveys, but then when you actually have to sit through it and make a purchasing decision, that doesn't always go that way. What's your thought on that? Can the genie be pulled back out of the bottle here and make this part of the content mix again?
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, and now that we're going way back here, in the 80s, cable TV's promise was premium content that had no ads. And of course, you turn on cable now, and it's literally all advertising, just like every other form of television. And the reality is, all these companies are looking at the ad revenue dollars and going, yep, that's we're going to make our money, is we're going to make some extra money there. What I think is an interesting play is kind of what Twitch does. So Twitch has ads all over its streams and things like that, unless you are a subscriber to an individual creator. If you purchase a subscription to that individual creator's channel, then you no longer get ads on their channel, but then you obviously switch to somebody else, and you're going to get ads on their stuff, on their live streams. And the way that works out is that the creators get a small amount of money for the ad revenue, but they obviously get a lot more money out of the subscriptions if people subscribe to their channel. So they have an incentive to create better content and foster that loyalty. And I think there's a there for some of the bigger content platforms to be looking for ways to bring advertising in thoughtfully. I could see Netflix doing something eventually. I don't know if they would be quite so bold to do this, but I could see somebody saying, like, yeah, for an independent movie shop, like if a production house, if you get your people to subscribe to your studio in the streaming app of your choice, there'll be no ads on that content, but obviously ads on everything else. We'll see how it turns out. That said, whether or not people want it, you're going to get ads. I mean, just look at the example of cable TV. Look at the example of satellite radio. Look at the example of any media channel that's owned by a corporation. You're going to get ads.
Yeah, and so it seems like it's going to morph to a point where instead of price increases, you can keep the price the same if you're willing to put up with the ads. But hopefully at least they'll still maintain, these forums where you can buy the content straight out if you want it for yourself with no commercials. I guess that does seem like where things might end up, especially with people scrambling to eke a couple more bucks out of everything as of right now. We got a bunch of stuff on the Gear Watch. I have gone through headphone voyage again. It's just been ridiculous. I was a huge fan of the Jabra 75Ts, which I lost, and so I upgraded to these Beats Fit Pro. And yeah, I am just astounded that never in my life did I think I would say that I bought a pair of Beats and I would gush about them as fantastic, but they really do seem to have killed it with these in-ear noise reduction, fully M1 Apple chip compatible earbuds, and they are great. And then over the weekend too, I ran the Falmouth Road Race in my sport headphones. I had the Bose Sport Pulse that I was surprised. I actually looked back. I bought those in 2017. I got 5 years out of them, which for a workout headphone is just ridiculous. Normally people destroy those in a year or two, but they did finally give up the ghost and die in the heat of the Cape over the weekend. So the Beats Fit are IPX4 rated, so you can do sports in them. So I've been running with them, and they seem to be working. It'll be really interesting if I'm using these earbuds for both work and workout. How long are they going to last me? But so far it's been all good. I'll have links to all that in the show notes, so if people want to check it out and dig in, and happy to talk about that more. We know you did the big microphone upgrade, but you were actually doing some testing out in the field of how the thing sounds. What did you come to on that?
Here's the big thing about the microphone and the board that I noticed. I was listening to some old episodes of both In-Ear Insights and Marketing Over Coffee in my car as I was driving, to take my dog to the vet and stuff. And the difference in microphone when I moved to the Shure SM7B is that my voice is super clear over road noise with this microphone, whereas with the previous microphones, the AT2100 and the Anker C300, it isn't as clear. There's something about the way that this microphone with a good soundboard and the compression on it just cuts through road noise, whereas listening to you, listening to Katie, it's much harder to hear you clearly. I can't tell you what it is. I'm not an audio engineer, but it's just something about it where it just slices right through that road noise, and you don't have to crank the radio as high just to hear it. And it really, that was the other thing, is it sounds like radio. It sounds like broadcast radio when you're listening to this microphone on a podcast. You could be listening to 106.7 or Magic 98 or whatever. I don't know. I can't tell you, but I can tell you that it sounds like radio, and it's easy to listen to in the car.
Yeah, well, the compression, when you pair both that mic and the Rodecaster, you're just getting, it is, like you said, it's that classic radio sound. It's deep, and it's, they kind of trim off some of that annoying high end so you don't get the buzz on there. But yeah, I'll have links to that in the show notes, people, if you want to check out the mic and the soundboard. The Rode has really blown my mind. I've been surprised at how good this Rodecaster is as far as, the noise gate, unwanted noise gets filtered out all the time. Your voice gets tweaked and bumped up so that it sounds great. It definitely covers a lot of the important points in making you sound good and getting you on board. So shows and events are like on fire. We've been talking to people all for the past 2 weeks about upcoming shows and speaking gigs for you and stuff like that. So what's next on the docket?
Let's see. Next on the docket, heading back out to Cleveland for Content Marketing World. So that will be exciting. Then we have Marketing Profs B2B Forum here. Actually doing a bunch of webinars and virtual stuff too. So there's a lot of running around. It was interesting. We'll have probably a video up on our YouTube channel, but I was talking with Kathy McPhillips about the Maycon conference and sort of lessons learned from a COVID perspective. So I'm going to put together some content about what events can do to make things safer while providing, while still providing the kind of environment where people can get together and network. And it basically just comes down to ventilation. Really good ventilation means that even if a bunch of folks aren't wearing masks, you can keep things safer than they would be otherwise, particularly in breakout rooms where there's a lot of people and not a lot of air moving around. It's all about good filtration. But an event could do that. $100 a room is what it would cost you effectively to put a couple of fans in with some good filters and things. And I mean, that to me seems like worth the price of admission.
Yeah, no, it's easy to do, and just a little extra effort could make the difference in attendance in a huge way for you if you can, show that you're going further than the average event on keeping people safe. That does seem like an easy win. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll be at Inbound for at least Friday, the last day of that. So if you're coming out for that, be sure to give us a yell. We can love to catch up with you over there. But otherwise, that's going to do it for this week. So until next week, enjoy the coffee.
Enjoy the coffee.